Alright, in our next topic, we are going to talk about how to multiply complex numbers together. Alright, so we'll do a few problems, see if you guys get the hang of it. Right now, it looks like we're taking negative 20 and multiplying it to the binomial known as 2i minus 7. Well, do the same thing as you did using the distributive property when you're in Algebra 1. Okay, so negative 20 times a 2i will give me a negative 40i. And negative 20 times a negative 7, and negative times negative is a positive, so it'll become a plus 140. However, be very mindful that it needs to be in this form, where you have the real numbers up front and imaginary numbers in the backs. It's quite complex. Just joking. Complex numbers. Alright, so what is our real number? 140. And what's our imaginary number? Negative 40i. And so that's what I'm going to type into the Khan Academy. Real number up front, imaginary number in the back. Alright, well, this one won't take very long. Let's trying to get to the two binomials here. Distribute, we get negative 10 times 13i, which is a negative 130i, and the negative times the negative is a positive. 10 times 9 is 90, but we got to put the 90 up front and minus 130i in the back. Alright? Making sure we have it in a plus bi form. Real number plus the imaginary number. 90 minus 130i. Not too bad. Come on, there's got to be a more difficult one. Alright, might as well just get this done. Hopefully I'll have two binomials here. Alright, we have negative 12 times 8, which is negative 96. Negative times a negative is a positive. 12 times 2i is 24i. We can write this in nice. It's already in order, so we don't have to worry about rearranging things. Okay, so negative 96. Alright, plus 24i. Well, I guess it will be another one that has binomials. I'll have to go ahead and do that one right after this. So we have 8 times 11i, which is 88i, and 8 times 2 is 16. But we got to put the real numbers in the front and the imaginary numbers in the back. And together they become complex. 16 plus 88i. Alright, now what we're going to be tackling is the next section, which is multiply complex numbers, where you have, it's a little bit more difficult. You'll see here we just had a real number and we were multiplying it to a complex number. Here we have a binomial multiplying it to another binomial. Okay, so we're going to show you a couple ways of doing this. Alright, so I'm going to rewrite it right here. We have 5 plus 2i, and we are multiplying it to negative 5 minus I. And so what we need to remember is how to do the FOIL method. So I'm going to review the FOIL method, which represents what's called the first, the outside, the inside, and the last product. So I'm going to write first. You could follow along if you want. Feel free to pause me as much as you want. Apologies for my handwriting here. I'm writing on an electronic board. It's not always easy as it appears. Alright, so here we go. Let's talk about our first product. So here we go. Our first products are going to be this 5 multiplied to this negative 5. So my first products are 5 times negative 5, which gets me negative 25. Alright. Alright, now we're going to go our outside products. Our outside products are right here. 5 times negative I. So we're going to put 5 times a negative I, which gets us a negative 5i. There we go. Now we're switching colors here. Let's go to our inside terms, our inner terms right here, right there. So we have 2i multiplied to a negative 5. 2i multiplied to a negative 5, and that gives us a negative 10i. That's the product of those. And last but not least, 2i times a negative I. 2i times a negative I. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. 2i times a negative I, which becomes negative 2i squared. But wait, there's more. So what does I squared mean? Remember, from our very first video we talked about with the complex numbers, I squared equals negative 1. So wherever you see an I squared, what are you going to say? When I say I squared, you say negative 1. I squared, negative 1. So this becomes negative 2 times negative 1, which becomes a positive 2. Now what we have to do is we have to add all of the like terms together. So let's go and put all the like terms together. All right, we've got a negative 25. Negative 2i squared became a 2, so I know I can now add that 2 together to it. And then here, these are like terms. Negative 5i and negative 10i become a negative 15i. So when I combine these together, I get negative 15i. And negative 25 plus 2 is negative 23 minus 15i. And that's what I'm going to be typing into the Khan Academy. Now that's just a review of the FOIL method, where you do the first terms, 5 times negative 5, the outer terms, 5 times negative I, the inner terms, 2i times negative 5, and finally the last terms, 2i times negative I. But if you wanted, we could do it a little bit differently. We could make a little box, make an array. So you could do this in your journal if you want. So that'll look a little bit better here. Alright, let's make a little array right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to make our array out of 5 plus 2i. So right here I'm going to write 5 and a 2i. And then over here I'm going to put negative 5 and negative I. So I'm going to put negative 5 and negative I. And what this is going to represent is we're going to represent the products right here. So we're going to multiply 5 times negative 5, and you'll put negative 25 right there. We'll do 5 times negative I and put negative 5i right there. 2i times negative 5, which is negative 10i. And 2i times negative I, which is a negative 2i squared. But remember, negative 2i squared, that I squared becomes a negative 1. So that's like writing negative 2 times negative 1, which becomes a positive 2. So I got to use that positive 2. When we add our like terms together, we get negative 23. And we add these like terms together, we get negative 15i. And you can clearly see we get the same answer. So now I'm going to go ahead and type that in. Negative 23. Got to put the real numbers up front. All right, and minus 15i. So put minus 15i. Real numbers up front, imaginary numbers in the back. All right. So this next one, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do the array methods. And since I've already done the FOIL method, I'll go ahead and do the array method one more time. See if this is helpful. So I'll make a little array right here. Kind of reminds you of biology when you're doing the Punnett squares. I'm sure you guys will have done that already, or not, you're going to Punnett squares. So what we're going to do is put 3 right here and the negative 4i right there. Alright, hopefully you haven't fallen asleep just yet. We're almost done. Negative 3 and a 2i right there. And now we're just going to multiply things together. 3 times negative 3. Let's change colors. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. 3 times 2i is 6i. Negative 4i times negative 3 is positive 12i, because a negative times a negative is positive. And last but not least, negative 4i times 2i is negative 8i. I squared. But wait, warning, warning, warning. I squared equals negative 1. So that basically means we've got a negative 8 times a negative 1, which creates a positive 8. Whew. So what does negative 8i squared actually become? Negative 8i squared actually becomes positive 8 when all is said and done. So now all we got to do is add some like terms. Got to take this term, add it to this term. Negative 9 plus 8 is negative 1. Then we just take this term right here, add it to this term right here. 6i plus 12i is a total of 18 i's. And we're done. So I'm going to type that in, and we will call this video done. Hopefully you can either use the what? Use the FOIL method that we talked about here. All right, first outside, inside, last. All right, or if you want to do the array method, you can do the array method where you just find the products and then you add the like terms together. But just so you know, this is correct. Go ahead and type in negative 1. All right, and then what do we have left? Positive 18i plus 18i. And I hope this video was great. Have a great day.